And there's a song that they were singing the night that I was born again. You know, I was a church member sliding to hell from a church pew. And I didn't know that I was lost. I thought I was saved. I'd been in church all my life. There are a lot of things I'd never done. But one thing I hadn't done was to receive Jesus. I'd joined a church. I'd gone through a baptismal ceremony. I'd done a lot of good things. But God in mercy reached down and answered a prayer and moved my family and I over into a little Baptist church that was meeting in a schoolhouse because they didn't have a building. And there I began to hear the Bible preached in a new and better way than I'd heard it before. Now, the church I attended, undoubtedly Jesus was there. There were godly people there, and I'm sure there were people who were born again. But I never met him there. For some reason, I slipped through and didn't get there. And I was a lad of 17. And I thought I was saved. And I used to hear the preacher preach. And this little church didn't even have a pastor. They were just using first one another preacher coming through. And they'd have him for a Sunday or so, and then they'd have a different one. And they gave an invitation, which was new to me. I had never seen that done on a regular basis. At the close of every service, they invited those who needed to receive the Lord to come forward. And the preacher would plead for them, and I would stand there and think, oh, I wish they'd go. Oh, how can they stand back, these people that don't have Jesus? Of course, I was all right. But, I just felt so sorry for those that didn't know the Lord. And then there came a night when some preacher preached on church membership. And what he did to church membership shouldn't happen to a dog. Because he preached on it from the standpoint if that's what you're depending on to go to heaven. And he took his Bible hatchet. Well, he took a chainsaw to it. He sawed that thing all to pieces. He chopped it up into kindling wood. And when he got through, he dumped the whole thing into hellfire. Well, that made me miserable, and I didn't like it. I knew I'd gone to church all my life. When you go to church, you're supposed to feel good. Feel better when you leave. And I felt awful. That preacher made me feel bad, and I decided I wouldn't go back there anymore. I'd go back to my church. They didn't make people feel bad around there. I didn't know what was happening. And I told you about those hypocritical Baptists. They just smiled, They didn't tell. They knew what was the matter. They didn't tell me, though, but they told the Lord about it. They just kept on telling the Lord. And they kept telling the Lord, that boy's lost. Get him. And they threw their prayer hooks into me, and every time I'd decide I wasn't coming back, the next thing you know, I was walking through the door at the next service thinking, why am I here? I don't want to be here. And I got to feeling worse, and it didn't matter what the preacher preached on after that, because I was miserable, and I didn't know what it was. And I don't even remember how long it went on. Couldn't have gone on long. I think I'd have died, because I was just miserable, and I didn't know why. But one night, the preacher gave the invitation. I don't know what he preached on. I haven't any idea. I got to where I couldn't remember what they was preaching on. Anything they preached on bothered me and upset me. But they came to the invitation, and they sang, Jesus paid it all. And something happened to me on the inside while they were singing that thing. It just tore me up. Jesus paid it all. All to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. And they just kept on and on. I think they sang every verse. And it just was getting to me bad. And it was bad enough, and then they switched over to this one. The song leader suddenly switched to this song. And I didn't get past a couple of verses. Next thing you know, my feet were walking. And I was getting down to the front. And I didn't understand theology, and I didn't understand a lot of things, but somehow I opened my heart that night, and all my ignorance, misunderstanding about how you got saved, I got saved. And I got a good dose. Oh, did I ever. I haven't been able to shake it off since. And I haven't really tried that hard. I can't get over it, and I haven't even tried to get over it. And friend, that happened when I was 17, and I'll be 62 in February of next year. And let me tell you, the further you walk with Jesus, the better it gets. the rougher it gets. You think it's rough now? Oh, it's going to get worse, 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 lots worse. You think, oh, no, no, not that. Yep. Cheer up. The worst is yet to come. Somebody told me that one time. I cheered up, and sure enough, the worst came. Ooh. I just thought I'd hit the worst of it. But I'll tell you this, with the worst. Are you tired already? Go ahead. All right. I train them, I tell them what to do, and then they don't do it. My wife decided if I wasn't going to sing, she's going to rest a while. But just this, there's glory that pours out with every trial. And right after every trial, there's a resting place. It may not look like that to the world, but inside there's peace, sweet, wonderful peace. And it's because of this truth that's in this little old song. And this is a song that broke my heart, and it still gets me every time I hear it.